World leaders are mourning the death of Pope Francis, remembering him as a symbol of humility, compassion, and reform. He died yesterday at the age of 88, just a day after greeting worshippers on Easter Sunday. To reflect on his life and legacy, we are now joined by Reverend Canon Mpho Tutu van Furth, the priest in charge at the All Saints Church in Amsterdam. Reverend, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning, albeit under very difficult circumstances. Just wondering this morning, what is going through your mind as you read on people speaking about the legacy of Pope Francis, and perhaps maybe your own personal anecdotes that you'd like to share with us?
Well, my heart goes out to all in the Roman Catholic community who are mourning the death of Pope Francis, and to his sister who is also still alive. And, you know, it is actually a sad day for the world. Pope Francis was one who was very vocal in his stand for the poor, standing with the poor, standing with the oppressed, speaking out on issues such as the genocide in Gaza, speaking out on the crisis of migration, speaking out in favor of human dignity. And we have lost a compassionate leader.
We've lost a compassionate leader, and those condolences are still pouring out. One of the things that continuously comes out is this description of Pope Francis as somebody who was progressive. You've listed now a few instances where he would have commented on what some people would have thought to be controversial issues, and a church should not be seen to be intervening or interfering in such issues. But what does that tell us about the stature of a Pope Francis, and why he felt sometimes that even the most controversial and the most complex, actually the church should also add its voice on it?
Well, I'm not sure why the church would not comment on the most controversial issues. The concerns of the church are the concerns of the world, and particularly of the poorest, the most ignored, the most easily marginalized. Those should be, and they are, the proper concerns of the church. And so I think the position that the church should not address controversial issues doesn't make any sense to me in light of Scripture, in light of the life of Jesus, who made his whole business addressing controversial issues, living in a time of empire and oppression. That was precisely what he was addressing: was empire, was oppression, was marginalization, was the disdain for human dignity. And so all of the issues that Pope Francis addressed were absolutely the issues that are the purview of the church, and that are the business, shall we say, of Christians the world over. He was very outspoken on the necessity for us to address climate change. He was, let's say, in the context of his church, quite daring in addressing the issues of welcome for LGBTQIA plus people, and quite vocal and very present in issues of ecumenism, of reaching out across religious divides with respect.
Yeah, and on that issue around the LGBTQ plus community in 2018, being supportive of somewhat civil unions, But then the issue that was raised was that at which point would the Catholic Church also then say that it is willing to sanction these unions without just saying that, yes, we can allow people of same-sex marriages to come through and come and receive a blessing, but not necessarily the union itself.
Mm. Yeah, I think that one of the things that Pope Francis did speak to was to recognize that he could not get too far out in front of his own community, let me say. The church, as we know, is by its nature tends to be rather conservative. It's that is kind of the role of religious entities is to in many ways to keep things the same. And so I'm not sure of what his personal feelings were in terms of whether the church should bless unions. I think he recognized that he could not impose that desire or that opinion on his brother bishops. But I do think that what he has been able to do is to open the door to the conversation, which was not a conversation that was going to be had under any of his predecessors, and that it's maybe the fact that he walked up to that line makes it possible for his successor to cross the line.
Yeah, and that was going
one
to
can
be...
hope.
Sorry, continue, Rev.
I said one can hope.
One can hope. My next question was going to be on whoever the successor is and the ability to continue with that conversation that has been started by Pope Francis, and maybe other aspects as well. That he couldn't get to. For you, what do you think the future then holds, and the potential that there is, considering as well that someone was actually saying, I don't know if this is your experience as well, Rev, that you're seeing more and more people are actually coming back to the church, and if that is the case, if more and more people are coming back to the church or to Christian faith, whether Christian faith is able to welcome them all in all of their diversity.
Well, I mean, coming back to the church is a question. It's a question of coming back to which church. Mm-hmm. So are people coming back to going back to the Roman Catholic faith? Are they finding other faith communities that speak to their needs more closely or more clearly? And so I don't know whether that is necessarily what is happening is the growth in numbers and a growth in the Roman Catholic faith, or is it a growth in numbers across all denominations of the Christian church? And the Christian church will have to find ways to welcome back those who are coming back and welcome those who are coming in all of their diversity. I mean, I know certainly in my own congregation, and I will emphasize, I am not Roman Catholic. Yes. I'm an Episcopal priest. In my own congregation, I have the joy of worshiping in a very diverse congregation. So people from every race and nation and every configuration of family relationship and being able to create a loving community that is concerned with the woes of the world, as well as being concerned with its own growth and well-being.
Yeah, and considering how large the Roman Catholic Church is, with around 1.5 billion followers, we are told, what do you think? And I don't want you to impose yourself. I'm not asking you, Rev, to impose yourself here. But even if we look at your own history, and having been part of the Anglican Church, the question around priesthood. Earlier on, you were speaking about the church being known as, this is now in general, churches being known as conservative. But when it comes to the Roman Catholic Church, it's also being accused of being patriarchal in its approach.
Absolutely. And yeah, that actually was, I think in 2023, it was hoped that there would be some deeper conversation in the synod or conclave of the Roman Catholic Church on the issue of the ordination of women and women's inclusion in the leadership of the church. The kind of compromise or position seems to have been that that women would be welcome into more aspects of leadership of the church, but the issue of women's ordination was kind of shelved for a later moment. We continue to pray for our Roman Catholic sisters who really do feel the strong sense of vocation to ordained ministry, that their church will, in time and soon, God willing, be open to ordained ministry for Roman Catholic women.
Yeah. And then just a final question, Rev. This morning, we are asking our audience, where should the Vatican look next for the Pope? That's the question that we are posing this morning. We've got 4 options: Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Africa is, of course, leading at around 86%. But does it matter at all where the next Pope comes from?
Well, I think what we have seen with this Pope, with the late Pope Francis, that, coming from Latin America, he came addressing a very different set of concerns than did the European popes, the popes whose focus of concern were, very European-focused concerns. I think that if we look at where the church is growing and growing the fastest, that I would say, for that reason alone, an African pope would be a good idea. But for several other reasons as well, because there are critical issues that face the world today, that those who have lived who have lived in countries that have been empires as opposed to or have been the seat of empire rather than have been colonized. The concerns of those who are colonized are different than the concerns of those who have been the colonial powers. Yeah. And the world is really needing to move in a direction of concern for those who have been colonized, who have formerly been colonized.
Reverend, thank you so much for your time.